Good morning, students. This is 7th Standard Social Science revision class. So now let's open our social book. So the unit test portions are Civics Unit 1 Equality and Economics Unit 1 Production. So children, in this session we can revise it one by one. So before revising, one important note children, textbooks are available at school so you can get it. So which helps you in preparing for your unit test too. Now let's begin our session. So first unit in civics is equality. In that the topics covered are definition of equality, importance of equality, kinds of equality, human dignity, equality in the Indian Constitution, and then the steps to promote equality. So children, these are all the topics covered in the civics first unit equality. So first let's move on to the definition of equality. So what is equality? Equality is ensuring individuals or groups that are not treated differently or less favorably on the basis of specific protected characteristics including areas of gender, race, religion and age. So equality means treating all equal without showing any discrimination, whether they are height or short, whether they are dark or fair, whether they are male or female or aged person, or if they have any physical disability. So we should not discriminate based on the specific characteristic. So everyone must be treated equal in the society without showing discrimination. So that is known as equality. So next, let's move on to importance of equality. So equality is a powerful moral and political ideal that has inspired and guided human society for many centuries. So equality is a powerful moral as well as political value. Then the concept of equality invokes the idea that all human beings have equal worth regardless of their caste, color, gender, race and nationality. So the major motive of equality is to treat everyone equal without any discrimination. Next, the democratic ideals such as liberty and equality are meaningful and effective only when they are implemented with justice. So, the democratic values such as liberty and equality, it will be meaningful, it will make sense only when they are implemented with fair justice in the society, that is without showing any discrimination. So children, these are all the importance of equality. So now let's move on to our next topic, kinds of equality. So what all the kinds of equality in the society is? First one is social equality, next civil equality, then political equality and then gender equality. So the four major kinds of equalities are social equality, civil equality, political equality and gender equality. So now let's discuss it one by one. So first one is social equality. So what is social equality? Social equality means all citizens are entitled to enjoy equal status in the society. So in the society, every citizens are equal. There should not be any discriminations of caste, creed, color and race. So there should not be any discrimination. Discrimination means what? Treating them in a different manner. So there should not be any discrimination. And all should have equal opportunity to develop their personality and to complete their goals. So children, social equality means in a society, all are equal. So as we said, without showing any discrimination. And they should get equal opportunity to develop their career as well as their personality. So now let's move on to civil equality. So what is civil equality? From the name itself we can say civil means law. Civil equality is enjoyment of civil rights by all citizens. There should not be any discrimination of superior or inferior. Superior means high class, high rank, or inferior means low class or low rank, the rich or poor, the caste or creed. So without showing any discrimination, the law should be fair one. It should be a fair one. Rule of law is in force in England, and in the eyes of law, all are equal and equal treatment is given to all by the rule of law. So children, in the eyes of law, everyone are equal. So we should not discriminate a person whether they are a superior or inferior or rich or poor or based on the caste or creed. So in the eyes of law, all are equal and fair justice should be provided to all. So that is meant by civil equality. So children, do you know who advocated the rule of law? So rule of law was advocated by A.V. Dacey. So A.V. Dacey is a British legal luminary. So make a note of it. It may be asked in one word. Who advocated the rule of law means A.V. Dacey. So next, political equality. So children, under political equality, there are three major rights. One is right to vote, right to hold public office, and right to criticize the government. So, a citizen who had completed the age of 18 can cast their vote in the election. Then right to hold public office means the citizen has a right to work in the government sector. Then right to criticize the government. So, we can raise our voice against the government rules if it is not implemented for the welfare of the society. So, the right to criticize the government is a very important political right. So, next, Universal Adult Franchise. So, children, UAF means Universal Adult Franchise. So, according to UAF, in India, the voting rights is given to all citizen who has attained 18 years of age without any discrimination. So, according to Universal Adult Franchise in India, every citizen who has completed the age of 18 can cast their vote without any discrimination. Then, in India, the right to vote for women was given in the year 1952. So, children, make a note of it. In 1952, India gave the right to vote for women. Then, in Switzerland, the right to vote for women was implemented in the year 1971. So, in Switzerland, the right to vote for women was implemented in the year 1971. Then, any person in the sense he must be a citizen of a country. Any person who has completed the age of 25 years can contest in the election. So children, the minimum age to contest in the election is 25 years. Then gender equality. So what is gender equality? All human beings, both men and women, are equal and free to develop their personal abilities and make choices without any limitations. All human beings, both men and women, are equal and they are free to develop their personality without any discrimination. So children, gender equality means men and women are equal in the society. So next, social activist. So now let's see some of the social reformers who worked hard for the upliftment of the women's status in India. First one is Raja Ram Mohan Roy, then Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Dayanand Saraswati, Mahadev Govind Ranade, Tarabai Sinde, Beham Rokia Sakawat Hussain. So children, these are all the social reformers who worked hard for the upliftment of the status of women in our country. So make a note of it. Next, human dignity. So what is dignity? So dignity means self-respect. Dignity means self-respect. Human dignity is the most important right from which all other fundamental rights derive. So children, human dignity is the basic for all other fundamental rights. Dignity is a quality of being honorable, noble and excellent. So children, a person with dignity will give equal respect to all in the society and he will treat equally without showing any discrimination. So next we have seen about the equality in Indian Constitution. So what are all the articles in the Constitution which enforces equality? So Article 14, it guarantees to all people equality before law. So Article 14, it deals with equality before law. Then Article 15, it deals with prohibition of discrimination. So prohibition means the removal of discrimination in the society. Then Article 16, it provides equality of opportunity in matters relating to employment. So Article 16, it deals with the equality of opportunities in employment. Then Article 17, it abolishes the practice of untouchability. Then Article 18, it abolishes the titles conferred to the citizen. So these are all the articles in our Indian Constitution which enforces equality in the society. Next, we have seen about what are all the steps to promote equality in a society. So first one is treating all fairly, then creating an inclusive culture, ensuring equal access to opportunities, enabling to develop full potential, making laws and policies, then education. So children, these are all the steps to promote equality in the society. So treating all equal and respecting others' culture. So we know that India is a land of unity in diversity. So we have to respect others' culture also. Then we have to give equal opportunity to everyone, whether they are male or female. So we have to give equal opportunities to everyone. Then enabling to develop full potential. Then make the laws and policies to ensure that equality is prevailing in a society. Then education. So education is the foremost thing, and education, it helps us to create a mindset in treating everyone equal without showing any discrimination. So we have come to an end of the lesson. So the main theme or the main principle in this lesson is we are all equal and we should treat everyone equal without any discrimination. So now let's see the most expected questions in this lesson. So most expected questions in equality. So let's see it section wise. First one is choose the correct answer. So children, first question is which one of the following does not come under equality? The choices are non-discrimination on the basis of birth, caste, religion, race, color, gender, right to contest in the election, all are treated equal in the eyes of law, then showing inequality between rich and poor. So you have to pick up the right answer. So which one does not comes under equality? So the correct answer is D. So showing inequality between the rich and poor, it doesn't come under equality. So second question is which one of the following comes under the political equality? So the options are right to petition the government and criticize the public policy, removal of inequality based on race, gender, color and caste, all are equal before the law, the prevention of concentration of wealth is in the hands of the law. And the correct option is option A, right to petition the government and criticize the public policy. So it comes under political equality. So as we have seen, the three major political right is right to vote, right to hold public office, and the third major right is to criticize the government. So the correct answer is option A. Next, the third question. In India, the right to vote is given to all the citizens at the age of, the options are 21, 18, 25 and 31. So we all know a person who have completed the age of 18 can cast their vote. So the answer is option B, 18. Next, inequality created by man on the basis of caste, money, religion, etc. is known as, options are natural inequality, man-made inequality, economic inequality and gender equality. So children, natural inequality means what? The major characteristic are tall, short, fair, dark. So these and all comes under natural inequalities. But the caste, money, religions, these and all comes under man-made inequality. So the correct answer for this is man-made inequality. Next one is, in Switzerland, the right to vote is given to women in the year. So the options are 1981, 1971, 1991 and 1961. So as we have seen earlier, option B is the correct answer. So 1971. So Switzerland, the right to vote for women was provided in the year 1971. Similarly in India, 1952. So the next session is fill in the blanks. Civil equality implies equality of all before. So then from the name itself we can say civil means what? Law. So the answer is law. Civil equality means equality before law. Then second question, the Indian Constitution deals about the right to equality from Article 14 to 18. So we have seen a set of articles. So it starts from 14 to 18. So the answer is 14 to 18. Right to contest in the election is which right? It comes under political right. So contest in the election comes under political right. Answer is political. Equality means absence of dash privileges. So equality means absence of social privileges. Next, in India, the right to vote is given to the women in the year 1952. Next, short answer. First question, what is equality? So as we all know, equality is ensuring individuals or groups that are not treated differently or less favorably on the basis of specific protected characteristic including areas of gender, race, religion and race. So children, you can also write like this. Equality means treating all equal without showing any discrimination based on gender, caste or religion or age. So I hope you are clear with this. The second question is, why is gender equality needed? So what is the need for gender equality in the society? So, all human beings, both men and women, are equal and are free to develop their personal abilities and make choices without any limitation. So, why gender equality needed in the society means both men and women, they have to get their equal opportunity to develop their potential. So, children, answer is all human beings, both men and women, are equal and free to develop their personal abilities and make choices without any limitation. Next, the third question is, what is civil equality? So, the civil equality is enjoyment of civil rights by all citizens and there should not be any discrimination of superior or inferior, the rich or poor, the caste or creed. So, you can write like this. So, civil equality means enjoyment of civil rights by all citizens without any discrimination. So, you can also write like this. So next we can move on to the next section, that is answer in detail. So the first question is, write about the importance of equality. So what is the importance of equality? So you can write the answer in 3 points. So first one is, equality is a powerful moral and political ideal that has inspired and guided human society for many centuries. Then the second point is, this concept of equality invokes the idea that all human beings have equal worth regardless of their caste, color, gender, race and nationality. Then the democratic ideals such as liberty, equality, etc. are meaningful and effective only when they are implemented with justice. So children, the points which I have highlighted in red are the main points. So you can write this answer in 3 points. So first one is, it is a powerful moral value, and second point is, it invokes the idea that everyone are equal in the society, and third point is, equality and liberty are meaningful only when they are implemented with fair justice. So now let's move on to the second detail. What is political equality? So you have to write the answer like this. First one is, all the democratic countries including India have guaranteed the political rights to all citizens. So the three major political rights are right to vote, right to hold public office, right to criticize the government. So, and then according to UAF, that is Universal Adult Franchise, all citizens who has attained 18 years of age can cast their vote. Then any person who has completed 25 years can contest in the election. So these are all the political equality. So if this question is asked in your unit test, means you have to frame the answer like this. So first you have to explain the three major political rights, and then the person completed the age of 18 can cast their vote. The minimum age to stand in the election or contest in the election is 25 years. So I hope you are clear with this. Next, the third question is, how does the Constitution of India protect the right to equality? So the answer must be like this. So you have to explain all the articles from Article 14 to Article 18. So Article 14, it guarantees to all people equality before law. So remember like this, 14 means it is equal to law. So 14 means law. 15, Article 15, it deals with the prohibition of discrimination. So 15 is discrimination. Then Article 16, it provides equality of opportunity in matters relating to employment. So 16 and employment. Then Article 17, it abolishes the practice of untouchability. So 17, untouchability. Then Article 18, it abolishes the titles conferred to the citizen. So children, So you can remember this answer like this. Article 14 means law, 15 means discrimination, 16 is employment, 17 untouchability, 18 is titles. So I hope you are clear with this. So these are all the most expected questions in the civics first unit equality. So now let's move on to economics first unit production. So in this unit the topics covered are definition of production, utility and its types, types of production, then the factors of production, then entrepreneur. So children, the topics covered in this unit are the definition of production, utility and its types, types of production, factors of production and then the entrepreneur. So now let's revise it one by one. Now let's see the definition of production. Production is a process of combining various material inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for consumption, that is the output. So children, production means getting the input and then converting it to produce the output. So I hope you are clear. So production means it is a process of combining all the inputs to produce the output. Now let's move on to the definition of utility. Utility means want satisfying power of a product. So utility means the satisfying power of the product which you are buying from the shop. So what are the types of utility? First one is form utility, place utility and then time utility. So the three major types of utility are form utility, place utility and time utility. So now let's see the definition one by one. So first one is form utility. If the physical form of a commodity is changed, its utility may increase. For example, the cotton utility increases if it is converted into clothes. So children, the cotton utility, that means the satisfying power of the product increases if it is converted into clothes. So when the form is changed, the utility will increase. So that is known as form utility. Now let's move on to place utility. If a commodity is transported from one place to another, its utility may increase. Example, if rice transported to Tamil Nadu to Kerala, its utility will be more. So children, if the commodity is transferred from one place to another, the consumption of the product will be more. So next one is time utility. If the commodity is stored for future usage, its utility may increase. Example, agricultural commodities like paddy, wheat, etc. are stored for regular uses of consumers throughout the year. So the commodity is stored for future usage. So that comes under time utility. So next, types of production. The three major types of productions are primary production, secondary production, then the tertiary or service production. So primary production, secondary production, then the tertiary or service production. So let's see the definition one by one. First one is primary production. So the primary production is carried out by extractive industries like agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining and oil extraction. So primary means the starting production stage. That means it will produce the raw material. So from where we are producing the raw material? From the natural resources. So primary production is carried out by extractive industries. So some example are mining, agriculture, fishing, forestry and oil extraction. Second one is secondary production. This includes production in manufacturing industry, turning out semi-finished and finished goods from raw materials and intermediate goods, conversion of flour into bread or iron ore into finished steel. So children, secondary production means converting your raw materials into a finished product. For example, the flour can be converted to bread and then the iron ore is converted to steel, the finished steel. So the utility factor for the product will increase. So how they are converting? With the help of some machines. So this comes under secondary production. Next is tertiary production or service production. Industries in the tertiary sector produce all those services which enable the finished goods to be put in the hands of the consumers. So The industries in the tertiary sector, it works to provide service to the consumers. For example, what are the tertiary sectors? Transport, advertising the product, then teaching, healthcare, so retail. So these and all comes under the service sector. So children, industries in the tertiary sector, it provides services to the consumers. So now, do you know that the most of the gross domestic product of our country is contributed by the tertiary sector, that is the service sector. Gross domestic product means most of the income of the country, it relies on the tertiary sector. It comes from the service sector. So next, move on to the factors of production. So the factors may be classified under primary factors and derived factors. So what are primary factors? Primary factors are land and labor. These are naturally given and without them no goods can be produced. So primary factors are the land and labor, they are naturally gifted. Without them nothing can be produced. Next is derived factors. So derived factors are man-made factors such as your capital and organization. These derived factors, when combined with the primary factors of production, it will raise the total production. So a production is a combination of primary factors as well as the derived factors. So now let's see it one by one. So first one is land. So what is land? A land as a factor of production, it refers to all those natural resources or gifts of nature which are provided free to man. So, land is the primary factor of production and it provides all the natural resources which are the raw materials in the production process. So, now let's move on to characteristics of land. Land is a free gift of nature. So, the resources available in the nature are free. Land is fixed in supply. Land is imperishable. Imperishable means we cannot destroy it. Then land is the primary factor of production. And land is immovable, it cannot be moved. Land has some original indestructible powers, that is, some nature or the quality of the land cannot be destroyed. For example, the fertility of the land, it cannot be destroyed easily. Next, land differs in fertility. So, in one area it will be high fertile, and another area it will be low fertile. So, it differs in fertility. So, these are all the characteristics of land. It is free gift, fixed in supply, imperishable, primary factor, immovable, and it has some indestructible powers and it differs in fertility. So now let's move on to labor. So the definition of labor. Labor is a human input into the production process. So the labor are the human input. So according to Alfred Marshall, Alfred Marshall is an economist. So according to him, a labor is a person who use the body or mind partially or wholly. Wholly means fully. With a view to secure an income apart from the pleasure derived from the work. So, according to Marshall, a labor is a person who use the body or mind partially means partially or fully. Wholly means fully. With a view to secure an income. So, why we are working? So, we are working for an income apart from the pleasure derived from the work. So, Adam Smith is known as the father of economics and his economics is wealth economics. So, children, make a note of it. Who is called the father of economics means Adam Smith, and his economics is related to wealth economics. So, he wrote two classic works. So, Adam Smith wrote two classic books related to wealth economics. First one is The Theory of Moral Sentiments, published in the year 1759, and An Enquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations, which was published in the year 1776. So, the two classic works or the two books written by Adam Smith are The Theory of Moral Sentiments in the year 1759 and An Enquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations in 1776. Next, we can move on to characteristics of labor. Labor is more perishable. Perishable means it is not constant. A person can move on, can switch his work to another company. labor is an active factor of production. Labor is not homogeneous. So homogeneous means the skill may vary from person to person. So each person has a unique talent. So it may vary from one person to another person. So labor is not homogeneous. Next, labor cannot be separated from the laborer. So the labor and the workplace cannot be separated. Labor is mobile. So he can move from one place to another. Individual labor has only limited bargaining power. So a labor, he cannot ask his employer to increase in salary. So he has only limited bargaining power. So children, these are all the characteristics of labor. He is more perishable, active factor, homogeneous. Then the labor and the laborer cannot be separated. Then the labor is mobile. Then he has only limited bargaining power. So now let's move on to division of labor. So this concept, that is the division of labor concept, was introduced by Adam Smith. He is also known as the father of economics. In his book, An Enquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations. So this concept was introduced by Adam Smith in the book An Enquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of the Nations. So let's move on to the definition of division of labor. So each worker has a specific task. So division of labor means assigning a specific task for each worker, dividing the work among the workers. So that is known as division of labor. So what are all the merits of this? Merits means advantages of division of labor. First one is it improves the efficiency of labor when the labor repeats doing the same task. So when the labor he repeats doing the same task, his efficiency will be more. And next one is facilitates the use of machinery in production. So it facilitates the use of machines in production. Next, time and materials are put to the best and most efficient use. So because each worker has a specific task to do, the time and the materials are used in an effective manner. So these are all the merits of division of labor concept. Now let's see what are the demerits. Demerits means disadvantages. First one is repetition of the same task makes labor to feel that the work is monotonous and stale, and it kills the humanity in him. So doing the same task, what happens? He will get bored of the work. So it kills the humanity in him. So he will get bored of doing the same task again and again, and he don't have any efficient to do some other task. The second demerit is narrow specialization reduces the possibility of labor to find alternative avenues of employment. So this results in increased unemployment. So when assigning a specific work for each worker, what will happen? The particular worker will be efficient in doing only one specific task. So if he loses his job, he can't find another job easily. So it increases the unemployment in the society. So now the third demerit is it reduces the growth of handicrafts and the worker loses the satisfaction of having made a commodity in full. So the use of machinery, what happens? It decreases the satisfaction of the worker that they have made the commodity as a full. So these are all the demerits of division of labor. First one is they will feel bored of doing the same task again and again, and second one is they will be efficient only in one particular task. In case if they lose their job, they can't find another job easily. So next is it reduces the growth of handicrafts. So all are produced with the help of machines. So the satisfaction for the worker will be reduced. So these are all the demerits of division of labor. So now let's move on to capital. So capital are all the derived factors. Derived means man-made factors in the production process. So what is capital? Capital is the man-made physical goods used to produce other goods and services. So capital are the man-made physical goods which are used to produce other goods and services. In the ordinary language, capital means money. Capital means money. In economics, capital refers to that part of man-made wealth which is not used for further production of wealth. So now let's see what are the forms of capital. So first one is physical capital or material resources. Example, your machines, tools, buildings. So these and all comes under physical capital or material resources. Second one is money capital or monetary resources. Example, the bank deposit, the shares and the securities. So these and all comes under money capital or monetary resources. Third one is human capital or the human resources. Example, your laborers. That is investment in education, training and health. So these and all comes under human capital and human resources. So children, the three forms of capital are physical capital, money capital and human capital. Next, we can move on to characteristics of capital. So the capital is a passive factor of production and it is a man-made factor. Capital is not an indispensable factor of production and capital has the highest mobility. Capital is productive. Capital lasts over time. Capital involves present sacrifice to future benefits. So children, in economics, capital refers to physical goods as well as money. So it is a passive factor, it is a man-made factor and it is not an indispensable factor of production. And then the capital has highest mobility. Mobility means movement. Then the capital is productive and it lasts over time and it involves present sacrifice for the future benefits. So these are all the characteristics of capital. So now let's see who is an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who combines the different factors of production. So an entrepreneur is a person who combines all the factors of production like land, labor and capital in the right proportion and initiates the process of production and also bears the risk involved in it. So an entrepreneur is a person who combines all the factors to produce the output, taking all kinds of risk. So an entrepreneur is also called organizer. So he is also referred as organizer. Now let's see the characteristics of entrepreneur. Identifying profitable investable opportunities. So a businessman or an organizer, he has to identify all the profitable ways in the business. Deciding the location of the production unit. So he has to decide the proper location for the factory. Making innovations. So making innovation in the sense installing lot of machines in the factory. Deciding the reward payment. So you have to reward the workers to encourage them. Taking risk and facing all uncertainties. So these are all the qualities of an entrepreneur. Identifying the profitable investable opportunities, deciding the location of the production unit, making innovations, deciding the reward payment and then taking risk and facing uncertainties. So children, I hope you are clear with this unit, production. So we have come to an end. So now let's see some most expected questions in production. So what are the most expected questions in production? So let's see it section wise. First one is choose the correct answer. First question, production refers to, the options are destruction of utility, creation of utilities, exchange value, none of these. So children, production means what? Creating the utilities. Utilities means what? The satisfying power. So the correct option is B, creation of utilities. Second question, utilities are in the nature of form utility, time utility, place utility and all of these. So we have seen there are three forms of utility. First one is form, place and time. So the correct answer for this is all of these. So all of these comes under the types of utility. So the answer is all of these. Third question, which process is carried out by extractive industries? So options are secondary production, primary production, tertiary production and service production. So we have seen extractive. Extractive means what? Extracting the raw materials from nature. So it is the first stage. So it comes under primary production. So the option B is the correct answer, primary production. Then the fourth question, primary factors are. So primary means what? The nature. The factors available in the nature. So land and capital, capital and labor, land and labor, none of these. So nature, the nature's gift are land and labor. So the correct answer is option C, land and labor. The fifth question is, the entrepreneur is also called. The options are exchanger, agent, organizer and communicator. So entrepreneur is also referred to as organizer. So the correct answer is organizer. So make a note of this. Now let's move on to next section, that is fill in the blanks. So what means satisfying power of the product? So the answer is utility. So utility means want satisfying power of a product. Second question, derived factors are capital and organization. So answer is capital and organization. Third question, what is fixed in supply? So we have seen in the characteristic of land. So land is fixed in supply. So the answer is land. Which is the human input into the production process? So what is the human input into the production process? It is the labor. So the answer is labor. Which is the man-made physical goods used to produce other goods and services? So the man-made physical goods is capital. So the answer is capital. So children, make a note of this. Next is match the following. Suppose if they have given like this: primary production, Adam Smith; time utility, fishing and mining; wealth of nation, entrepreneur; human capital, store for future; innovator, education and health. So you have to match the correct one. So now let's see the answer for this. So primary production. So the industries in primary production are fishing and mining. So this is the correct answer for this. Time utility. So time means it is stored for future. So this is the correct answer. Stored for future. Third is wealth of nation. So it is a book written by Adam Smith. So the correct answer is Adam Smith. Fourth is human capital. So human capital are education and health. Then innovator is also known as entrepreneur. Now let's see some short answers. Define production. So first question is, what is production? So production is a process of combining various material inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for the consumption, that is the output. So children, production means it is a process of combining all your inputs to produce the output. So this is the answer for that. Next, what is utility? So define utility means it is the satisfying power of the product. So these are all the key words, which is the important keywords which you have to write in the answer. Name the types of utility. So the types are form utility, place utility and time utility. Fourth question, name the types of production. So the three types of production are primary production, secondary production, tertiary or service production. Fifth question, what are the factors of production? So primary factors and derived factors. So under primary factors we have land and labor. Under derived factors, capital and organization. So make a note of this. So now let's move on to next question, that is define labor. So who is a labor? He is the human input into the production process. Next, define division of labor concept. So it's an important question. So division of labor means dividing the process of production into distinct and several component processes and assigning each component in the hands of a labor or a set of laborers who are specialists in that particular process. So in simple words, you can also write like this: division of labor means assigning specific tasks for each worker. Next, write the forms of capital. So there are three forms: physical capital, which is also known as material resources. Example are machines, tools, buildings. Then money capital, which is also known as monetary resources. Example, bank, deposit, shares and securities. Third is human capital or human resources. Example, investment in education, training and health. So these are all the three forms of capital. The ninth question is, who is the changing agent in the society? So the entrepreneur is also called organizer. In modern times, an entrepreneur is called the changing agent in the society. So he is not only responsible for producing the socially desirable output, but also to increase the social welfare. So he is producing a product. A businessman or an entrepreneur is producing a product for the welfare of the society. So he is referred as the changing agent of the society. for the needs of the society is creating a product. So the 10th question is, write the three characteristics of entrepreneur. So any three characteristics you can write. Deciding the location of the production unit, making innovations, deciding the reward payments, taking risk and facing the uncertainties. So in this you can write any three. Next we can move on to brief answer. First question is, explain the types of production. So children, if the question is asked in the unit test, means first you write the definition of production, then you can write the three types of production, that is primary production, secondary production, tertiary or service production. Then explain each by putting the side heading. So first one is primary production. So primary production is carried out by extractive industries like agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining and oil extraction. Then secondary production. This includes production in manufacturing industry, turning out semi-finished and finished goods from raw materials and intermediate goods. Conversion of flour into bread or iron ore into finished steel is the example for secondary production. Next is tertiary production, which is also referred to as service production. Industries in the tertiary sector produce all those services which enable the finished goods to be put in the hands of the consumers. So children, if they ask explain the types of production, means first give the definition of production and then you can explain each type of production. So now let's move on to the second question. What is land and what are the characteristics of land? So land is a factor of production, or you can also write primary factor of production. It refers to all those natural resources or gifts of nature which are provided free to man. So characteristic of land. So put the side heading like this, characteristic of land. And these are all the key points which has to be present in the answer. So first one is, land is a free gift of nature. Second is, land is fixed in supply. Land is imperishable. Land is a primary factor of production. Land is immovable. Land has some original indestructible powers, and land differs in fertility. So children, you can write any 5 characteristics of land. So now let's see the third question. Explain the merits and demerits of division of labor. So you can start this question by giving the definition of division of labor concept. Then you can put the side heading merits of division of labor. So first one is, it improves the efficiency of labor when labor repeats doing the same task. Second is, facilitates the use of machinery in production, resulting in inventions. Then time and materials are put to the best and most efficient use. So these are all the merits of division of labor, and the key points are improve efficiency, use of machinery, and time and materials are put to best use. Now let's see the demerits of division of labor. Repetition of the same task makes labor to feel that the work is monotonous. Monotonous means you will get bored of doing the same task again and again. Next is, narrow specialization reduces the possibility of labor to find alternate job. So if he loses his job, he can't find another job easily because you know only one particular task. So it increases the unemployment. Then he reduces the growth of handicraft because everything are produced with the help of machines. So these are all the demerits, and this is the key points which I have highlighted. These are all the key points which has to be present. Next, the fourth question is, describe the characteristics of capital. So for that you can give the definition of capital, then you put characteristic of capital as a side heading, then give any 5 points. So capital is a passive factor of production, and it is a man-made, and it is not an indispensable factor of production. Capital has highest mobility, capital is productive, capital lasts over time, and capital involves present sacrifice to get future benefits. So children, you can give the definition and then you can give any 5 points. So the fifth question is, what are the functions of entrepreneur? So identifying the profitable investable opportunities, deciding the location of the production unit, making innovations, deciding the reward payment, taking risk and facing the uncertainties. So these are all the functions of entrepreneur. So you can remember the answer by the key points, the key words which I have highlighted. So we have come to the end of this session. So children, it's time to study. So preparation is the key to success. So preparation is the key to all kind of success. So once again I am reminding you children, so you can collect the textbooks available at school which helps you in preparing for your unit test. And in the description below I have given the links of the videos for your unit test 2 portions. So children, study well, prepare well and all the best. Unit test 2 revision is completed.